So yesterday, the shareholders of Microsoft, the fifth largest company in the world, rejected Michael Saylor and his Bitcoin proposal, where he put on a 3-minute demonstration urging Microsoft to adopt Bitcoin as a treasury reserve asset. But I believe that Microsoft is going to wish that they replicated what MicroStrategy has done in the past 4 years, and that's because in 11 days' time, MicroStrategy might just begin breaking a $26 trillion market. Of course, we're talking about the Nasdaq and MicroStrategy's most recent inclusion into the Nasdaq. Okay, we're going to be talking about all that and more, but I want to first start today's video with a little snippet of Michael Saylor's speech to Microsoft, because I think there's a little couple golden nuggets in here that we've got to discuss that maybe relate or help to explain why the Microsoft shareholders yesterday didn't adopt Bitcoin, or they voted against adopting Bitcoin. So let's see if the audio here plays.
And you have a choice to make: cling to the past or embrace the future. Divest billions of dollars and slow your growth rate. Invest billions of dollars and accelerate your growth rate. You've surrendered hundreds of billions of dollars of capital over the past 5 years, and you've just amplified the risks that your own shareholders face. If you want to escape that vicious cycle, you're going to need an asset without counterparty risk. What if you could buy a $100 billion company growing faster than Microsoft for 1 times revenue? What if you could keep doing it every single year? It's time for Microsoft to evaluate its Bitcoin strategic options. We've created an open source model. You can plug in your own assumptions. You can convert your cash flows and your dividends and your buybacks and your debt into Bitcoin. If you do that, you'll add hundreds of dollars to the stock price. You can create trillions of dollars of enterprise value.
Again, just quickly look at the projections that Michael has here. He's telling Microsoft they can create between $1 trillion and $5 trillion worth of capital. Again, Microsoft has a market cap around $2 trillion. So Michael's openly saying, look, adopt Bitcoin and you can see $5 trillion growth. Again, let's not just stumble past how significant this speech Michael gave was. We nearly finished it.
Of enterprise value. You can strip away risk from your shareholders, and you can prosper on the Bitcoin standard. So do the right thing for the world and adopt Bitcoin.
So the vote has happened. Michael gave this 3-minute talk last week. So how many of Microsoft's shareholders do you think did the right thing for the world? And they voted to adopt Bitcoin. Well, I'm a little bit embarrassed to show this figure. We can see here 0.55% of Microsoft shareholders have chosen to adopt Bitcoin. It's a little bit sad. It's a little bit embarrassing. And I do really think that what we're going to see over the next 12 months is going to be something really interesting, because Microsoft's market cap, yes, it's at $3.38 trillion today. Don't get me wrong. That's great. They're the 5th largest company in the world. But what they're going to be staring at for the next 12 months is MicroStrategy's market cap absolutely ballooning in value and closing the gap. I mean, when we have a look at this chart right here, there's a reason why the Microsoft shareholders were forced to at least think about Bitcoin and vote about including Bitcoin into Microsoft's treasury reserve plans. And that's because of that chart right there. Have a look at how goddamn parabolic that thing is. It looks nuts. Look at it. A lot of people said, oh, MicroStrategy, it's dead. It's never going to recover. It's $10 billion valuation in the year 2000. Well, now it's got a valuation of approaching $100 billion. It's at 95. Again, we all need to pinch ourselves here. MicroStrategy's market cap has gone from 1 billion and it was dead. It was as flat as a pancake here for multiple years. For 20 years, MicroStrategy's market cap was under 3 billion. It was going sideways. It was dead. And it's gone from 1 billion to 97 billion in 4 years by just adopting better money. You cannot ignore a 100x. And now, sure, Microsoft could have ignored MicroStrategy when it was 1 billion growing to 5 billion or even 10 billion. But now it's in a different league. Now it's getting included into the Nasdaq this week. And it has a $100 billion market cap. If MicroStrategy just does another 10x, all of a sudden it's a $1 trillion company. And it's already on the heels of Microsoft at $3 trillion. So again, all of these companies, 121 million said it right as I said it. I think he beat me to the punch. Next up, $1 trillion market cap. It's coming, okay? It is inevitable. And one of the reasons why I do believe it's going to be inevitable is because what's happening in 11 days, okay? I think what we're going to see in 11 days is some pretty interesting things. We could see some pretty interesting things. And that, of course, is MicroStrategy's inclusion into the Nasdaq. I think this is going to absolutely knock socks off. We did a whole dedicated live stream talking about how important this decision is earlier in the week on the bitcoinnews.com YouTube channel. So I'm not going to rehash everything, but essentially the summary is that MicroStrategy shares could surge even higher if added to the Nasdaq 100 on Friday. So that is tomorrow. More sources are saying that they could be included on the 23rd of December. We can see down here, if MicroStrategy is added to the Nasdaq 100 index, ETFs will only make adjustments to the new index on December 23rd. That's funny enough. That's my birthday. So that could be a nice little birthday present to me. MicroStrategy gets included into the Nasdaq 100. That would be huge. It's going to be massive. And again, I'm not going to rehash everything I talked about in that video on the bitcoinnews.com YouTube channel 2 days ago. But I think this is going to be creating a massive short squeeze on MicroStrategy. Because now that MicroStrategy is included into the Nasdaq 100, what does that do? Well, that means that asset managers are now going to have to indiscriminately start allocating to Bitcoin. Okay, we have all of this passive investing going on. There's trillions of dollars in the passive investing marketplace, and all of this money just flows into the major indices, the S&P 500, the Nasdaq 100, and these guys indiscriminately buy. That means they don't care about price. They don't care if it's a bear market. This is people putting a chunk of their paycheck in the hands of their asset managers, and these asset managers, they're dumbasses. They don't know what they're doing, so they just plow it into the major indices, S&P 500 and Nasdaq. And that money that goes into those indices gets distributed amongst the companies in those indices, the 500 companies in the S&P 500 and the 100 companies in the Nasdaq 100. So now MicroStrategy is going to be benefiting and getting a small sliver of that money that gets pushed into the indices. Okay, so I think this is a bigger deal than a lot of people are letting on. I think we're going to see some absolute fireworks when this happens. Crazy things are going to be happening. All the boomers will be invested in Bitcoin unknowingly, as Buck52,000 says. Love that name, Buck52,000. That's a dope name. Oh no. I'm going to answer questions later. We've got a lively live chat as usual. Rock VTM makes a great point though. Many Microsoft investors are already in Bitcoin, so they couldn't care less about Bitcoins inside Microsoft. Follows it up with another great one. Microsoft maybe is part of their non-Bitcoin portfolio, and the Microsoft shareholders want to keep it that way. Really interesting point made by Rock VTM. I think that's a great point. Again, not everybody is all in Bitcoin. A lot of these guys own Bitcoin and they might own the Magnificent Seven or the FANG stocks. And they want the FANG stocks to be outside of their Bitcoin exposure. Okay, again, over here, we believe that 100% Bitcoin allocation is the best way to go. Again, nothing you hear on this channel is financial advice. I certainly don't look like a financial advisor with my stained shirts. I think, there we go. You guys can see the stain, my stained shirts and crazy haircut. But whatever you do here, let's be sure, definitely not financial advice. All I'm going to tell you guys to do is that you probably short Bitcoin. And again, it's a fact. This is not financial advice, but not being 100% Bitcoin over the past 15 years has empirically been the wrong decision because Bitcoin's been the best performing asset for 15 years. So if you've had a 5% Bitcoin allocation over the past 15 years, you've been 5% right and 95% wrong because 95% of your portfolio has underperformed the 5% of your Bitcoin allocation. This is something that I think takes a while to wrap your head around. It is difficult to understand this. It took me multiple years. I was buying Bitcoin in 2017. Didn't fully understand this until 2019. I think was when I went all in. 2019, maybe early 2020. We got a lot of questions in the chat. I'm going to talk about my price predictions end of year for Bitcoin and MicroStrategy. That's only 2 weeks away, but I'm going to have some fun with that. So we are going to talk about that in a moment. Before we get there, just wanted to once again remind you guys, if you are looking to improve your Bitcoin allocation in your portfolio and increase your Bitcoin allocation in your portfolio, and if you're looking for someone to help you throughout your Bitcoin buying process, I always recommend you go and buy your Bitcoin from Caleb and Brown. They're a really unique, brokerage firm. So what they do is they're going to give you your own personalized broker. And again, these guys are for retail and institutional investors. Caleb and Brown will help you buy Bitcoin, and they're going to give you personalized, high quality service with your very own Bitcoin broker. So that means you can get on the phone with your own broker. You can email them whenever you have any questions about the buying process. Again, I highly recommend you go and buy your Bitcoin from Caleb and Brown. They've got 7 years experience. They service 30,000 clients. It's a free account. You can get started in minutes. Check out the links down below in the description for Caleb and Brown. And then once you bought your Bitcoin, again, I always tell you guys, yes, we talk a lot about the price here. Yes, we talk about a lot about the ETFs here. But again, the Bitcoin revolution begins when you take self-custody of your 12 or 24 words that back up your own Bitcoin wallet. Okay, that's the revolutionary thing about Bitcoin. You own your own money in your own wallet. Okay? And you don't own your own Bitcoin until you own your own keys. And obviously, I tell you guys, go get a hardware wallet. Once you've done that, go and stamp your Bitcoin keys into titanium. Again, as you can see, you cannot do this wrong with the kits that StampSeed create. They have a nice little box that you can see there that lines up the words for you. Like they have the stamps, like these things. I like them because they're idiot proof. Even I can stamp Bitcoin private keys into one of these titanium plates. Okay, they're really good. They're really easy to use. Highly recommend you check them out. You guys can get a 15% discount off anything you want to buy from StampSeed with a promo code Luke15. Again, Christmas is coming. Now is the time to buy yourself a Christmas gift in a way that you can get away with it or justify it with a significant other, or you can just buy your partner a Bitcoin gift. Again, Luke15 gets you a 15% discount off anything you want to buy from StampSeed. Now, let's talk about something that you won't get a discount from. Well, I'm going to talk about MicroStrategy in a moment. I want to talk about end of year price predictions. Let's have some fun. Again, I always tell you guys the same caveat. Nobody knows where the price of Bitcoin is going in the short term. In particular, me, especially me, I have no idea. I really don't. But let's have a look at the chart of Bitcoin. So historically, Bitcoin ends December's very well. It's not a secret. It's not something that's unknown. We all know that. And a lot of people thought that, okay, this year is going to be different. because there's no way Bitcoin can do 40% in November because it's so big. That would mean Bitcoin would have to pump by like $30,000. People said that's impossible. No way. We can't see that. No, the law of large numbers. That's what people were saying. People were saying, no, but we can't. We can't see Bitcoin pump by 40% because it's $1 trillion market cap. No, no way. Those people were wrong because Bitcoin did pump by a lot in November. It might have pumped by nearly that, that 40% number that we're talking about. So this here is the seasonal returns. Now, there's a reason I'm showing you this chart, because we can see Novembers and Decembers are incredibly bullish. And if I'm going to give you guys some sort of educated opinion on where I think price could be, I need to back it up with some numbers. So as you can see, Novembers are incredibly bullish, but so are Decembers. Decembers are also incredibly bullish for Bitcoin. So right now, Bitcoin hasn't done a whole lot of work in December. Right now, I believe Bitcoin, I'm going to actually show you guys the price chart in a moment, but we can see here the average returns we see in a December for Bitcoin is, it's only plus 5%. That's interesting. I actually thought it was a lot more than that, to be honest. Yeah, right. Interesting. Okay, so for October, it's 22%. That's October. Moonvember, which is November, is 46%. This data here is telling me that we only see around a 6% gain for December's. It's interesting. So it's not a negative month, don't get me wrong, but it's certainly not the big number I was expecting. So where did we open December? So we opened December around $100,000 and we're around $100,000. So if I had to put a number on it to answer the question in the chat, I'd have to guess maybe we're going to see a 100, 110,000. I think is a pretty safe prediction. But again, I think the next 3 months is going to be a lot more bullish because when Apple apes in, Microsoft will instantly regret their decision. This is what's going to happen. Okay, we're going to see FOMO roll out. Geo says, it's sad to see Saylor humiliate himself in front of Microsoft, begging for them to adopt Bitcoin. Disagree with that take. I think Saylor said it multiple times. That speech was for all of the other 58,000 public companies. I think Saylor knew before he even gave that speech, the odds of him convincing Microsoft to adopt Bitcoin were low. Now, I don't know if we're going to see a deflationary bust. I mean, people have been calling for this massive 1928 style deflationary bust for a very long time now. We haven't seen it. I think it's more likely we see a hyperinflationary melt up of the currency. That's been my thesis for really since I really started talking about this shit publicly in 2020. And that's kind of what we've seen so far. I don't want to pat myself on the back there, but so far we've just seen stocks melt up, and that's because the currency is debasing. Blow off top could be in the fourth quarter of next year. Yeah, I'm expecting some sort of blow off top or correction, 50% correction in Bitcoin. Pretty likely next year, to be honest. It's probably still my base case because I feel like 2025 is going to be wildly bullish. If we pump to $500,000 next year, 50% pullback to 250 is what I expect. But to Austin's point, I actually also agree that I think the 4-year cycle is dead. I think the years of the 2-year bear market are over. I don't think we're going to see bear markets so long because these guys, as McLovin says in the chat, are going to have to FOMO into Bitcoin. That's what's going to have to happen. And it's only a matter of time before Microsoft regrets their decision. And I think MicroStrategy being included into the Nasdaq this Friday or on the 23rd of December is just going to pump MicroStrategy share price even more. And eventually it's going to be the thing that triggers Microsoft to reconsider their Bitcoin decision. Okay, good. Thank you so much for the $3 super chat before we even got started today, dude. Appreciate that. Really appreciate that. Maybe he was encouraging me to start the live stream while I was out and about checking on Adam's apples, as the chat was explaining. But with all that said, guys, I'm going to end this stream here. Thank you so much to the 581 of you guys tuning in from